Hey, everybody, and this is the Fifth Passenger panel with Cirroc Lofton, of course.
Hello, hello.
We're also joined by writer, producer, director Scott Baker, writer, producer, actress Morgan Lariah, and actors Hana Hatae, Rico E. Anderson, Darnell Davis, and Mr. Tim Russ. How's everybody doing?
Doing great.
Good.
Hey, yes, happy to be here.
Very good. Yes.
Definitely happy.
A lot of enthusiasm.
I think my puppy might join us. I'm not quite sure.
Great.
Yeah.
So let's just first start off with.
I'm going to lean in and say hi.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
Deb Hartwell.
Hi, Deb.
So
For
very
those who
quickly,
don't know, she was our fantastic costume designer for the show.
So Scott and Morgan, you guys want to very quickly walk us through the process of what Fifth Passenger is and how it was conceived?
Sure. Yeah. So it's a sci-fi feature, sci-fi thriller feature film, and it's on all these great places: Amazon. Was it Tubi, IMDb, TV, and YouTube? You can watch it for free on all those platforms. It started off, I love sci-fi and horror and thriller and stuff like that, and Twilight Zone, and so it started off for me as a concept idea of some people in an escape pod and a couple cool ideas around that. And one of these ideas as a writer, you have tons of ideas and you're chatting with friends and spitballing back and forth, and I became part of this little filmmaker group, and we had a thing going where they were going to write. Everybody's going to write some scenes, and then we do a table read of the scenes, and then get feedback. And so this idea had been kind of popping around in my head, and so I wrote a couple scenes for it and got some positive feedback. And Morgan was part of that that group too. She wasn't in. I don't think for the days of the table read, but we all kind of had become friends and knew each other and worked on similar projects. And as the idea was kind of forming in my head, and I was putting together the lead female character and meeting Morgan, and I was like, wow, she is like perfect for like what I imagined in my head that this character was going to be. And the more I thought about it, and the more I got to know her, the more it felt like this is who this character is. And so, I brought the idea to her and said, hey, what do you think about this idea? And what do you think about this character? And, if this is something that would happen, would you want to be a part of it? And and then she apparently liked something about what I was putting together there, and came on to help make it happen.
Morgan, when he first brought the script to you, because we all know being an actor, sometimes you're like, this is the best script ever and I have to be a part of it. And sometimes we're like, yes, I would like to be the lead in something. Yes. We can work on the script, but I just want to be the lead. What was it that really attracted you to it?
Well, when Scott brought this idea to me, he had written how many scenes? He'd written a couple scenes out.
Maybe like 2 or 3 scenes, something.
Yeah.
I had.
It wasn't a full script.
Idea. Yeah. It wasn't a script. I had a sort of a vague outline of, okay, this is kind of where the story goes, and this is kind of who the character is. But there was a lot of work to do. And,
And so he pitched me this idea, and I hadn't even read the scenes yet because, as he mentioned, I wasn't there for that evening when they all did this table read. But I remember we were like walking back to our cars or something, and I was talking to Scott, and he pitched me this idea, and I just was immediately intrigued. And I thought it was a great idea. It was something I hadn't seen before. And I thought, what was cool about the group was Scott had brought in this 48-hour short film that he had made, and I just loved it. I thought it was so dark and twisted and really smart, and I was really impressed with what he could do in 48 hours. And then
is that
Scott,
the cannibal one?
Yeah, but now you've ruined the twist for people. We're going to stop.
They didn't hear. They weren't listening.
Wait,
unbelievable.
That film.
And then I had made this short film, and with somebody else, it's kind of the same deal. I co-created it. Like, we both wrote it, he directed it, I acted in it, we produced it together. And Scott was kind enough to, you did the subtitles, right? Because we got this festival in Italy.
Yeah, I put like Italian subtitles on it for you.
Yeah, so we kind of both knew each other's work, and then we didn't really know each other that well, though. And but we talked, and we were really friendly. And when he pitched me this idea, I was just hooked. Like, oh my gosh, like what a great idea! And we just set forth on this adventure together, trying to make this thing happen any way we could.
Yeah. And then, one thing led to, and then one thing led to another. We shot a proof of concept trailer with Manu, and Tim came aboard for that. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
And was able to, we spent like 3 years trying to do this the old fashioned way, like see if we can raise $1.5 million from some investors or whatever,
right.
and just getting the same old answers from everyone in the typical Hollywood machine, distributors and producers and all this kind of stuff. And, one thing led to another, and meeting Ryan and other people in the Star Trek community, just said, well, let's just go to Kickstarter and raise as much money as we can. And then whatever we raise, we'll try to make a movie with whatever it is we raise, the best movie we can. And if we can keep raising money and keep shooting, then that's it. And just like, as independent filmmakers without a track record, it's so hard to make a film if you don't have an A-list actor and you don't have like, oh, this is a movie that I've done that's, made $10 million or something like that. It's almost impossible to get somebody to give you money to do it. But the Star Trek community and the fans of sci-fi and everything like that were so supportive that this new era that we're in of being able to crowdfund projects is like, I think, the only way that we were able to make it happen the way that we did.
And in addition to that, people had asked us to crowdfund. First, it was like, oh, you should make a concept short. And so we did. We're like, okay, it's sci-fi. So we made this concept short on Neil Johnson's set, and Tim was there, and that was great. And Mon was there, and this whole crew. And that was really exciting. But then that wasn't enough. And then what really, and people kept telling us to crowdfund, and Scott and I both knew, we're like, no, we know what that means. No, please, God, no. But what happened was Mark and Elaine Zikri had crowdfunded their own project, and they had these amazing sets. And Scott and I had gotten these concept drawings done, and they were so similar to what, our script was. And they were kind enough to give us a really good deal to shoot there. And then from there, Scott and I just realized, we were like, we're not going to get, because this isn't like a little tiny indie film where we could shoot it in your apartment and maybe a car in the desert. This is, space. So we really needed legitimate sets. And then we had these legitimate sets, and it was just basically a do or die moment. Like, are we going to do this, or are we just going to keep peddling this script around? And Ryan was gracious, and he came on and helped us, and Manu helped us get more talent. And, the whole thing just really came together. And it was really, I'm so glad looking back that we did crowdfund, because, I learned a lot. But then we also were so lucky to form this like really lovely community that supported the project. And it was really funny and interesting. Like, after the movie came out and it was out in the world, we were like in this warm little Star Trek bubble where everyone was so nice and kind. And then the real world like slapped us in the face. And so, I look back and I still talk to a lot of those people. Like, I'm Facebook friends with them, and like we talk, and that honestly has been one of the best parts of this whole journey, was that community. And then it was also nice too, because it was, it helped the film. It made the film more attractive to the distributor. And so it helped in that aspect too, which I didn't know. And I learned that. And so it was all just invaluable, really.
And Tim, you absolutely killed that role. I remember the first day I saw you on set, just totally being amazing and crushing that role. Do you remember when you first read this? Did Scott just give you the script and say, here, tell me if you like this, or did he pitch it to you? And what were your first thoughts when you first got the pitch or the script and, the potential role?
Well, initially, we worked on the initial trailer we used to pitch it, which turned out to be very different than what we ended up shooting, which is great. The time that I worked on that to the time we got to the project we ended up shooting was really dramatically different, and it was really much cooler. In fact, he described the role to me, and when he did, just the description alone made me very interested in this role because of the type of character. I mean, in this world of Fifth Passenger, Black lives do matter. More so apparently than anybody else's. so it was very, it was
True.
he was such a he was a very strong character, but he was also not very nice. And the fact that I was working opposite of the character who was my brother on there, who was also very similar to me in how he portrayed that character. I liked that. I liked the fact that bond could be believable when you watch it on screen. It was believable, and I enjoyed just to be able to bite into that role and to savor it. It was really wonderful. I mean, it's a lifeboat situation as it is, but it has that extra layer of the social commentary, the social strata that's commented on that takes place at that time, and that is what was the most appealing to me. Definitely off the nose in that respect. So I really enjoyed the opportunity to play it.
I thought that was the coolest thing about it when I first found out what the concept was that this caldera volcano erupts, right? This isn't a spoiler to say that, and so most of the world life has been wiped out on it, except for parts of Africa and Asia, right? So that's why it was very African American heavy and very Asian American heavy. And people that like, history or sociology or whatever like that, your mind starts to go. You're like, oh, that's so cool. There's this and that can happen. And just Scott, do you remember if you had that idea first, or if you had kind of like the sci-fi element idea first, and then you guys added that element second?
Yeah, that stuff came out of we brought in another writer to help us take the script that we had and make it better as you do. David Henry Martin, and that was one of the things that he brought to it, was helping us kind of figure out the backstory about like, okay, why are they in space in the first place, and all this kind of stuff. And that was the stuff that I hadn't really thought of, because I'm, when I write a script, I'm always so much more big picture stuff. I'm thinking of like, okay, what's the, the characters and what they're doing and that kind of stuff. And sometimes the little details, I let kind of come in later. And as we were putting it together, I hadn't really thought of like, okay, well, why are they in space and why are they traveling from here to there? And so that was one of the things that he really helped us flesh out, was like, okay, where are they coming from, and why are they leaving Earth, and we didn't want to have it be like an environmental message, in the sense of like, oh, they're leaving Earth because humans destroyed the environment. I mean, I think that's an important message, but we didn't want it to be that kind of overshadow what the film was about. And so I don't remember exactly where in the process that he helped us figure that out, but that was something.
Pretty early on, I remember he like brought up this caldera. He's like, oh, I've been reading about this caldera, and he's like, do you know about this caldera? And I hadn't heard of it. And I thought, though, like doing character work on Eve Miller, I thought, Scott, that you and I had decided like people were living on something like underground, like that. I thought that was a fairly early concept, though, and we just hadn't really tied it to anything like real. Am I remembering this correctly?
Yeah, I don't know. I might go back and look at the original first draft that we put together. But yeah, I don't remember. I know that we had kind of set up the sort of this idea, definitely, of her character being on a lower social status. However, that played out, and that was a big portion of it that I wanted to like make it in the sense where things like sexism and stuff like that will continue into the future, and there's going to be these different aspects of as much as we try for social justice and all these kind of things, that there's always going to be something, I think, and like I like the idea that maybe someday we're going to be in a Star Trek kind of universe where stuff is a little more equal. There's there's another side I see of like human nature where there's always going to be something that we're going to be like, okay, you're not a full citizen or whatever that means because of X, Y, or Z, whether it's money or yeah.
And even in the Star Trek universe, you see those elements still happen, within different storylines and little things that remind you, oh, they're talking about something that's related to things happening today. So.
Right, and Rico, without giving any spoilers as to what your character exactly did, but you got to play a captain, right? What was it, Captain Rangoon, I believe? Can you tell us?
Rangoon.
Rangoon. Can you tell us about your character?
Yeah. Without giving out spoilers, I deliver some news.
All right, Hana. No.
Thanks for having me.
I got you.
Yeah. But I'm the captain of one of the survivor ships that didn't make it, and yeah, we were. I'm letting them know that some things aren't going to be possibly going as planned. I feel like there's really nothing else I can say in that matter without just having Darth Vader as Luke Skywalker's father moment.
Speaking of spoilers, Darnell and Hana, how are you? You guys really.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. My ear.
Take over.
Sorry, my ear's too small for my headphones.
I think your entire roles are kind of a spoiler, right? But you guys play medical professionals, which are very important nowadays. Can you guys tell us, I don't know, kind of the process of when you showed up? I mean, when you showed up, was it like exciting? Was it nerve-wracking where you're like, whoa, all my friends are here. What a pleasant surprise.
Go ahead, hon.
Cool. All right. So I am going to say it was definitely a combination of excitement and like nervousness. I hadn't been on set, what was it, 15 years, give or take. And Ryan, actually, you had reached out to me and, contacted me about it. And I honestly never thought I would be on set again. And I read the script. I thought it was great. And I was like, F it. Why not? This sounds amazing. And walking onto set, it was like heartwarming, but also I was like terrified, because I grew up acting and I was a child. So anytime I was on set, my mom or dad were with me and like I was being told what to do. It was like, I was just like a little kid following along with what to do. But as an adult walking onto set, it was just like a whole new experience. Also, it's like kind of like riding your bike after not riding for so long, like you hop on and you might be a little wobbly at first, but then you're like good to go. So it was really cool because it was just something I never thought I would be doing again. And then being on set was just amazing. Seeing people that I knew before, everyone was just so friendly and welcoming. And it was an amazing experience all around. I'm very thankful that you guys allowed me to be in it.
We were so glad you said yes.
Totally.
We were thrilled, really.
Yeah, it was
really
very
lucky.
Thank you.
Was that something you consciously wanted to do, like not be working and be involved, or was it just nothing popped up that interested you?
I think it was just kind of after I stopped acting on Deep Space Nine, I just stopped acting in general, kind of just to be a kid and to grow up. And after that, it just never really crossed my mind, I think. It was just like, okay, well, I'm just going to live my life and do my thing. And like, yeah, I was a child actor. That was dope. Like I was on Star Trek and like I could brag about that to my friends. And then, yeah, it was just not really something I thought about pursuing. And I think that had a lot to do with how young I was when I started.
Darnell, what about you? When you came on set?
Yeah, it was, of course, for me, it was great. It's always a lot of fun. Whenever I go on set, and in this case, it was so much easier because I knew so many people already just personally because I'm friends with a lot of people, and then I met Hana, which was great. She is so much fun to be around, and our scene, me and her and Morgan got to work pretty much did, that's all we worked with. So I didn't get to see a lot of the movie. I had read through the script, and when I got to my scene, I was like, I don't know nothing about this stuff. I know nothing about. But I was like, I can do it, and it was fun. And I don't know if Morgan remembers that the table broke, and that. Do you remember that, Morgan?
No.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, honestly, I don't.
That 2 weeks was a blur.
Well, Scott, you guys remember that? And it freaked me out. And but everything was fine. And it was great. And so I didn't get to see a lot of people acting because our scene was just at the movie. But just to say, when I saw the movie and I saw Tim, oh man, blew me away. I cannot compliment you enough on how good you were in that role. It was really, really good.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. It's well written. It's good to get well written material because I don't see a lot of well written material on a regular basis, and to not have to change the dialogue or alter the dialogue at all because it's already there. It's tight and it makes sense. It's really not that common. Clearly, a lot of time and energy was spent getting that script right. I know you guys must have gone through a bunch of drafts, and it showed when it's all done. And that's how it's supposed to be done.
Good. Yeah, I had a great time, and I just want to thank everybody for letting me be a part of it. And waiting on you guys to do the next one. What's going on? Let's do it.
Let's go, FP.
Actually, just piggybacking on what Darnell said about Tim, my favorite line that I thought was delivered the best in the movie was delivered by you, Tim. The line was, "They will come for me." And, without giving too much about it, the way you delivered that, I swear, when I was on set that day, it kind of took me by surprise. Like, wow, that was a really good delivery. And then, of course, you have to remind yourself, oh, yeah, this guy's he's kind of known as
kind of a pro.
Kind of a successful actor.
He's kind of amazing at everything he does, so don't worry about it.
You got to have the framework of the dialogue and the meaning behind the dialogue to start with. That's a point that they put in there in the script that is really, it's got a kick, and right when it comes at the tail end of that off of the other actor's delivery, it's a button that's it's put there, and it's just perfect the way it's done. Not too much, just a little, but it's a tag, and it's just in the right place, the right time. Again, you can't do it. If you don't have it to say, it's not going to happen. So it's got to be there in the first place.
Definitely my favorite line in the movie. Morgan, Scott, do you guys have a favorite line? Whether it was written as your favorite and you were really excited about it, or whether somebody just kind of said it in a different way that you hadn't thought, it really jumped out at you.
Oh, I definitely have particular moments I really, really like. I don't know. I never really thought about this. Do you have a favorite line, Scott?
I don't know. Favorite line. Definitely favorite moments. I love the moment when they've got Tim's character locked in the airlock, and it's David and Manu and you, and you're all kind of going around discussing about, oh my God, we committed mutiny, and then there's that moment about whether or not Lee is gonna who he's gonna side with. But I think actually when I don't want to give it away, but later Lee kind of betrays them, and his interaction with Tim's character there, I think to me is the best moment for me. It just plays so well because it's this sort of double reversal thing, and the way David portrayed his character and Tim and they interacted so well there. It really for me kind of came together. One of those moments that came together better than how I saw it written on the page. Seeing it performed live was so much better.
I really like that moment too, because he almost turns into a little kid with Tim, like, okay, Dad.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it was so sweet. Like he's just like trying to please you, your character, Tim. It's like, oh yeah, of course. Yeah, that was a really good moment.
And
Go ahead.
yeah, and I was saying, I think, with Tim and Manu and Armin and Marina, not only them, being actors that we know from Star Trek and being good actors, there was something about having them as television actors. I think there's a different discipline that goes in that. With a lot of, I'm on set a lot as a Steadicam operator, and I work on a lot of independent features, and working with actors who primarily work in features. There seems to be a different discipline with like the television actors. Maybe it's just how the television's produced. You're on set for so many hours a day, day after day after day after day, hitting your marks, knowing your light, all this kind of stuff is like, I found it was so much of a different experience than when I worked with other actors who, maybe they do one feature film a year or, something like that. There's a different, I think, discipline about the television acting than there is film, and us shooting on such a small budget as we had. One of the biggest compromises you make is with time, and it takes half an hour to set up a shot, and then we get 4 or 5 takes and we've got to move on to the next one. There's not a lot like, okay, we're gonna do this thing for 20 takes until we get it absolutely perfect and the actors gotten into their groove and all this kind of stuff. It's like, we just did not have the time for that kind of stuff. It's like we needed the actors to kind of already sort of know where they were at and be able to make adjustments on the fly and be able to deliver these performances in a effective manner, I guess you could say. But and I definitely noticed that with people like Tim. It was just like, if we needed to make an adjustment, it was quick adjustments and we could just go, and there wasn't like, going through so many takes because they couldn't hit their mark, or they were, standing in front of one of the other actors, or couldn't get their eye line right, or, something like that, the little technical issues.
That's a great point. Most of you, maybe all of you, have worked in TV and in movies. You guys notice any major differences between the two when you're working them?
A movie, you shoot the same scene all day, maybe the next day. TV, they're like, okay, let's hurry up. You guys are taking too long. We got to get this done. So that seems, biggest thing for me.
Yeah.
Hurry up and wait. Hurry up and wait, always.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it's for.
Yeah. What was the page count that you guys, what did we shoot per day at Everton? Remember? Page count.
6 or 7, maybe?
Yeah, it was like a 90-page script, and we were 17 days on set. So, whatever the math is, works out on that.
5 to 6, yeah.
7 days, 7.
Too many pages, not enough days.
6.
Average TV day, and you're right. You got to get through it. If you got a limited budget, you can't be going into extra days to get it done. It has to be done in a certain amount of time. That's absolutely true. But I mean, in this one, we did take time. There was time taken in lighting and the setups. We did not rush. I don't think that process. The time was taken to get the lighting just right and such kind of lenses you guys were using, things like that. It was, be careful to get the shots to look really nice.
Yeah, our DP Ioana was really hardcore serious about making sure. She was such a perfectionist, and she was so into making sure everything looked the best it possibly could, and it was impressive. And she did.
Who was doing the set design for you guys?
Robert Poe was our production designer, so he has his own show called Space Hospital, and it's kind of it's like General Hospital, in space kind of thing, but it's a kind of a mystery science theater kind of thing where it's like kit bashing, taking vacuum cleaners and random stuff and like gluing them together and spray painting them and putting them on the walls kind of thing. And so we had the set from Space Command from Mark Zickery, and Robert Poe brought in his special brand of low budget indie sort of kit bashing style, and we sat down and said, okay, this is the look that we kind of want. Like I wanted like Apple Store look to it. Clean surfaces, white, backlit, like neon LED sort of looking like clean, as opposed to like Alien and Star Wars, where it's the sort of hoses and tubes and pipes, and it looks like everything's worn. I wanted that cleaner, futuristic kind of look. And so, I said that these are the kind of things that we're looking to do. And then, he'd come with some ideas and figure out how we could do it. I mean, on such a small budget of stuff. I mean, I don't even know what our final budget for production design was, but it was stupid low for
lot
for what we got out of it. Yeah.
Not a lot.
And one of the things that I wanted to do with like the pod, it had the white sort of quilted panels, and I wanted that was like an initial idea for me, was to have it sort of mirror like a padded room. Like if you're insane and they lock you in the padded room, I wanted something like that where it feels comfortable and safe, but there's also the sort of weird institutional feel to it, just because it is that kind of psychological thriller, and we're sort of questioning things about the characters and their psychological state and stuff like that. And I wanted that to be sort of allusion to that sort of thing. So that's where some of those elements came from. And then some of it was just sort of like accidental stuff coming together. Like we had the little pillars on the side were parts that were already built into the Space Command set, and they were this sort of like Flash Gordon orange with like rivet kind of things looking to it. And I was like, well, that certainly can't be used. So let's cover those up somehow. And we can just put LED lights behind it and put a panel. And then we got the LED lights showing, and we got these, and just sort of like, it was just a way of kind of decorating the set differently that kind of became a look in and of its own. And kind of, then we incorporated that because we had the LED lights and we could change the color. So, when everything's kind of normal, it's this sort of aqua blue color. And then when they're in like danger mode, the lights can turn red. And that kind of became a whole sort of thing that we worked into it later, once we had, had started going down that road with the sets and stuff like that. But
it's almost like you wanted to make sure that it didn't have that iconic Space Command look, right?
Well, in our contracts, we couldn't have it look
right. Yeah.
Space Command.
I just remember that word, iconic, in there.
Iconic.
Right. Yeah, iconic space. Yeah, but the hallway, actually, we didn't do much changing to the hallway. We made some small change, but if you watch Space Command and you look at our hallway, we didn't do much to change that, and that was just sort of us prioritizing, like our budget, like, okay, let's make the main set, because I mean, the hallways in maybe 2 or 3 minutes of the entire movie, and the majority of the show happens in the pod, and so we focus all our efforts in making that unique and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if the audience is watching the hallway, then the actors are not doing a good job.
There's always that one. Yeah. There's always that, like, those people who always look and go,
That's
me.
I heard what he said, but what about that hallway in the back?
Yeah.
I've seen that somewhere. Yeah.
No, I'm that kind of person though. I do that stuff all the time. I was watching with that show Hollywood. Sorry, I'm like kind of going off topic. That show Hollywood on Netflix, and they show Paramount, and I look up and it has a different name, and I instantly was like, "That's Paramount." That's Paramount. I used to work there. It's one of those weird, like some people have things that they.
Well, I mean, before we had the Space Command sets, one of the things that we had considered doing was like, okay, maybe we can shoot at the Laurel Canyon stages, which for people who don't know is a pretty well-used standing spaceship sets here in Los Angeles. And
Tim knows it well.
I know.
It's a second home.
Star Trek Renegades shot there, and it's been, like I can't count the number of short films and music videos that I've seen shot on those stages where you're like, oh, that's a cool looking spaceship set, and then it makes one other little cut, and you're like, oh, that's at the Laurel Canyon thing,
right?
And they look cool, but we really did want to do something that was different and unique for our story,
and we also couldn't afford it, really. I mean, it was totally out of our budget. So the decision was made for us.
Right.
Deb is the same way. She did Deb Hartwell did the costumes on this. She's the same way watching a movie. She spots every inconsistency and thing that's wrong for the time period. That's not the 1920s. That's not the
right.
That I'm like,
right away.
I'm on the other side going, oh man, I just want to watch.
Yeah.
Hey, they're still doing it today. They're still doing it today. You got a Starbucks cup.
That bow was on the other side the last shot. I'm like, oh, wow.
Oh, right.
What's funny is on our show, I'm always noticing the background and the town squares and how just ridiculous it always is getting recycled and reused. And Cirroc's the one that notices all the wardrobe, like Deb. He's like, that's a really cool hat. Or, that robe didn't work for me.
Is Deb so particular where she's like, that's 1926, not 1928. Oh, amateurs.
Exactly.
She's right there. I see her hand. Hi, Deb.
The zipper was invented in 1917.
Exactly.
Right.
Totally inaccurate. Oh, turn it off, Tim. Turn it off.
Oh,
that's absurd.
I just watch science fiction. It's in the future, so she can't date it.
Totally.
All right.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Good point.
Well, that is the great thing about making a film that's in that's science fiction in the future. It's tough because it's a period piece, so you have to have all new costumes and vehicles and all this kind of things. But it's not. You can make it whatever you want to make it. There's no rules or no like. Well, in 2352, this is exactly what people wore, or this was invented, or something like that. And Deb did such a great job again with such the small budget we had, and she was back there, her own little one man's sweatshop, turning out costumes for us.
Wow.
And it was everything we were doing. It's the whole thing they talk about it in Hollywood is this triangle of like time, quality, and budget. And you can pick two things. You can do things fast and cheap, or you can do things good and fast and it's going to be expensive, or whatever. And we were trying to make things good and cheap, but at some point you do run up against time, because time is money. She just made like really wonderful costumes for everything from the uniforms to the space suits to like what Doug Jones was wearing and David Lim's character. And I know sometimes we were overworking her, and we needed a shot of Manu in the spacesuit, and she was still working on the spacesuit. And so we're like, well, let's just shoot the close-up where we don't see what he's wearing, like on his pants and his boots and stuff like that, because she was still working on that part. And so we shot like all the mediums and close-ups of him, just because we just had the top half of the spacesuit done.
I think that was
a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
And
Cantless.
Tim, that this is pretty much the story that Deb runs into almost every time on productions, right? Like, we always ask her to be basically a one-person wrecking crew, and she always knocks it out of the park, but she's probably working like 16-hour days to do it.
Yes, it is. It's or 24 in some cases. I've seen her go 2 or 3 days without sleep just on a project because she was the only one doing it. I could not have done that myself. And that includes driving someplace as well while you're half asleep. So yeah, it depends on her job and as well as the producers and other people within the crew trying to get things done, on a limited time and a tight budget. That's just the way that world works, and you have to have people on, like Scott was saying, not only the actors, but also people on the production side who have enough experience to be able to do that in a limited time with a limited budget. They have to know what they're doing. Yeah. So, on this project, you have people in all these areas that know what they're doing and can crank this out in the time that you have to do it. There's no, like I said, there's no getting around that schedule. There's no getting around that budget. It either exists or it doesn't. And so you have to produce this project. You guys made the script at 90 pages, which was hard to start with. Because, again, stuff that I end up getting a lot of times, I'm looking at, there's 5 or 10 pages that can come out of that thing. You don't need them. You've got it down to what it needs to tell the story. And it paces the story even better. So there's no lag time and dragging, and it's got to move to it, That's my personal thing. I like stuff to have a pace, and I don't like a lot of extraneous nonsense that doesn't need to be there. And in 2053, then the project will be dated.
That's how you direct too, Tim. Like, what is this scene? Get it out. Don't eat it.
It's like watching. Or watching a project that was set in that was written in the 1970s or 60s, 70s, and it's about the year 2000, and now you're sitting in the year 2000 looking at it.
Flying cars still.
They missed that.
What is this?
So this one, Sci-Fi, like you said, it's timeless, and if you released it 20 years from now, it's still going to be timeless. It's just because you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I found that when you're on the set. Oh, sorry.
No, please.
Ryan. When you're on the set and you find that you're working on the right project or a good project, there's like an energy there. And I wasn't on the set for this one, but I imagine that's the kind of energy you guys felt, where everybody was excited to be there, to get to work, and to make this project.
Exactly.
Is that what it was like?
Absolutely right.
I was
guys.
there one day. I mean, I think for me it was the last day, but it was that great energy, just being on set. And I think Darnell, you touched on it, just being around people that your friends. We just come off of not too long from Renegade, so working with people that we worked on that, and just we see each other at the conventions, and so it was a cool rapport, and yeah, a lot of
I say super lucky with the people that we were able to get on board for this project, and part of it was having the small budget. Me and Morgan and Ryan and everybody kind of, reaching out to our network of people that we knew that, like, oh, I've done favors for this person, and now maybe they can return a favor and come on the project, or people that we knew that just believed in what we were doing, or people that loved Star Trek, and I'll do whatever you want me to do. I'll come aboard this project because I want to work with Tim or Marina or whoever, and then people who were just friends like Thomas Supernaut, who did our
right.
the alien creature design and was our makeup lead. Somebody that I've known for over 10 years and worked a lot with. And when I told him I was doing this project, he's like, "Yeah, sign me up, whatever." And it wasn't about the money. It was about the love of the thing and the personal connections we have, and doing that something that's fun. That's this sort of like passion project. But people I think in LA and Hollywood, they hear like that phrase passion project and they just like run for the hills, because most of the time that means, oh, I'm making something and there's no money, and I'm going to ask you to do all this work, and it's all about me. It's this thing that I want that's me, and I like on this being able to say, yeah, this is like me is like this is what I've done for it, but this is also what Morgan's done, and this is what Mono's done, this is what Tim's done, and it's like bringing in Iwan as the cinematographer and saying, okay, well, this is kind of what I see as it, but you're the cinematographer, you take over and do your thing, and Robert Poe, who's the production designer, this is what I'm kind of seeing for the sets, but you're the production designer, do what you want to do and make it awesome and make it your own thing. And that's what I love about the filmmaking process, is bringing like really creative people and letting them do what it is that they do. And then as a director, it's not like micromanaging all these little things. And it's like, well, if you really think it works better being red than blue, then okay, go ahead and make it red, because I trust you as the costume designer or the production designer or whatever it is. I mean, at some point you have to stick to a script and say, okay, well, this, in order for the script to work, these are the guidelines that we have to have, or this is sort of my vision. But letting people do what they do and have fun and just as like I said, everybody from like even Tim Gagliardo, our first AD, and Vinny, the second AD, like that whole behind the scenes crew. Without them, the production couldn't have happened. Without people like that who know how to run a production on a budget and make things happen, but run it in a way that everybody feels comfortable and has a good time. I mean, it's like up and down the line, I just felt super fortunate to have everybody that was just so excited to be on the project for whatever their personal whatever their personal thing, whether it was because they love Star Trek or because they liked working with Ryan for whatever reason or something like that, then
they're drunk.
Or they're drunk. Like that's what was exciting, and having like I know Armin has said that he took the role because it was the first chance that he'd really gotten to play like the good guy, the sort of lovable characters. Like he's always the when he's Quark, or he's always the kind of not necessarily the villain, but he doesn't really get to play the lovable character a lot. And so that was something I know that was personally exciting for him. And Tim gets to play the bad guy, and offering these things to people is fun, and having them come on for their whatever their reason are, I think is like I said, just feel so fortunate to have just this conflux of all these people coming together at just the right time to make this sort of amazing thing happen.
Right. And Marina Sirtis, of course, played a doctor, which wasn't too much of a stretch, but she nailed it. We had Doug Jones playing a rich philanthropist type. We only have
top 1%er.
Yeah, totally. A couple minutes left. We're about to go. But another thing we always hear in Hollywood and everywhere else is that it starts at the top. I think you guys definitely deserve major kudos, Morgan and Scott, because it was a total family feel. It was a passion project for everybody involved, because anybody that didn't have passion for it, we really couldn't have them on the team, because if they're in it to make $1 million, it's not going to happen. They're doing it because they care about the project, or they care about the people, or they really like the script. And that's what made it so successful. And that, obviously is just really just boils down to the two of you. So big kudos there. Before we go,
Matt Hunt as well. Matt's a good friend of mine as well.
And,
right?
Matt Hunt, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The project, I want to give him a shout out. Doug Jones also got a chance to be on there without a bunch of makeup.
Finally.
Finally.
With his beautiful face.
Freaking amazing. Yeah. And I got to say that my main thing is that Fifth Passenger was actually, written and produced and done. I cannot tell you how many projects that I've either been asked to be part of, or signed LOAs for, LOIs, and we're going to be doing this and that, and we're going to be nothing ever happens.
Mm-hmm.
And this project, after we shot the trailer, it was a little while after that, but all of a sudden that email or that call came in and said, we're going to do it. We're going to do it right now. And I was like, yeah. So to me, just the fact that this project is accomplished,
mm-hmm.
and it's out there, and let me tell you how much that is. That's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, it's really hard. so I can, it's just a lot of work.
It sounds like you don't recommend it, Morgan. Like, don't just
stay home. No, I think it's interesting how Scott was talking about passion projects. Now people cringe, but when I hear passion project, what's better than a passion project? What is better than something that you love so much that you devote basically a decade of your life to for free, and you get kicked around and you just keep trying? I think that's beautiful, and I salute anyone who does that, because creativity is the best thing we have out there, and passion projects.
Follow your dreams.
Exactly.
Right.
Chase your passions. Yeah.
It's also rough when as actors we know that it's you hear, hey, I got this project, and you just like in the back of your mind, you've done enough of these to know that sometimes some certain projects can just be a bit of a train wreck. So
mm-hmm.
and most, as Tim was saying, don't happen. You just basically say, sure, sounds great. Let me know when it
gets to that point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Production. When's the start date? Yeah, let me know. Give me a call.
Yeah. So final product. Were you guys happy with it? Aces all the way. I know I was.
I was so proud of everyone. As everyone said, I was amazed at how everyone came together and just gave their all, and I couldn't be more grateful for that, really.
Cool.
So,
Sure. Very good.
Great job.
It was great. Actually, watching it in theaters at Scott, where was your hometown when we played it there? San Jose?
Roanoke Park.
Santa Rosa.
Santa Rosa. When we watched it there, I'm not joking, I was on the edge of my seat. I was like, what's going on? Who's the bad guy? Who's the good guy? So it was amazing. I loved it. I think it was great.
You got to read the script next time, Hana.
I know.
No, I read the script, but it was like the way in which that it was shot and the way in which it was made. It was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
It did
It's
a
just
really
like
good
skimming for her character's name,
Exactly.
I'm the only important one, obviously.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Darnell,
I
were
really,
you?
I really like the poster too. By the way, Scott,
Yeah.
the image that you captured, it's captivating when you look at it.
Yeah, I wish I could take credit for that. Epic Pictures, who's our distributor, they put the poster together for us. So yeah.
Yeah, and I shout out to Herman Wilkins also, who played my brother in the
He was
Oh
amazing.
yeah. Herman's fantastic. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah.
That tear. Oh,
Oh,
the tear every time. The perfect
Yeah.
tear.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
The Barbara Streisand, he called it.
Barbara Streisand. That's a good one.
But I just like to thank like the Star Trek community and everybody on Kickstarter and the crowdfunding because without them there's no way it would have happened. Following like Renegades and Axon and the other fan films, there was this sort of parade of fan films and other productions that were getting funding and so many people on those donated money and donated their time on social media and things like that and I was just overwhelmed. Like I tried to do a crowdfunding before that failed miserably, and to see that we not only hit our goal but like surpassed our goal and just had so much support and just all along the way from everybody within especially the Star Trek community was just super overwhelming, and I feel so grateful to them. And so, like, my eternal gratitude to everybody for, helping to make that happen for us.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Great.
And I know Darnell said he was a little disappointed because he said Rico Anderson stole the show again, and he's just kind of getting tired of that.
Darnell, when you sign up for a project with Rico in it, you just have to accept the facts.
Yeah,
you just have to know this is what's going to happen. I did it. I knew what I was getting into.
It's in the contract. If y'all
Yeah,
don't read
exactly.
the contract,
Rico was over my house looking behind me at the videotape for Renegades, and he said, "Oh, you should watch this. I'm in it." And I'm like, "Dude." And he's like, "Really? You're in it? Oh, okay." Rico is the star. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happens.
The
so
Ricoverse.
Fifth Passenger 2 will star.
yeah.
Dun, da, da, da.
Sixth pass.
We go.
Six pass.
Hey, no spoiler alert.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I think we've done a lot of good here. I think the world's a better place. I hope everybody goes and checks it out, fifthpassenger.com. And that's with the number 5 TH passenger, not spelled out with an F. So check that out. You can watch it for free in a lot of places. You can pay for it too if you want. But anyway,
Pay for
Do
it.
that. Yeah.
Pay for it. Support.
thank you guys so much for joining us. Scott, Morgan, Hana, Rico, Darnell, Tim. It's been great. Cirroc and I really appreciate it. Cirroc and I are going to go watch it again sometime.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
Bernadette, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Pleasure.
Great seeing everybody again.
Thanks, guys.
Take care, guys.
Say bye to Debbie too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye,
Hi, Deb.
Thank you, Deb.
is.
Hi, Deb.
Hi, Deb.
There she goes.
Lurking.
Awesome.
Lurking.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, guys. That's fifthpassenger.com, and we'll see you next time. What's our goodbye thing on this? I don't know. See you next time.
See you next time.